how do you manifest a manifestation coach paying you back the money that they did not return on investment? For instance, they convinced you to prepay because you needed to have an abundance mindset and not be in a scarcity mindset, but then they were in a flaky mindset and did not show up for sessions because they said, I want to wait for your energy to be in a more positive place, and I can feel it, So this is an example, obviously, of a con artist who is polluting and using all of these spiritual terms in order to coerce and manipulate. And this is very rampant, and we need to talk about it because amidst there's so many gurus, coaches, people even kind of doing a FOP kind of therapy online. And sometimes sometimes a so-called authority isn't necessarily better or more qualified than somebody who has been through a lot of shit. But the con artist is not, they're somebody that knows how to capitalize on a bunch of spiritual bromides and a bunch of word salad and impressionistic talk, whether they're using religion, whether they're using spirituality, whether they're using, they use all kinds of stuff. There's so many different kinds of almost kind of languages, and also therapy speak is very colloquial now. And so it's so rampant to have these figures. And I've talked about this before, but I have now been embarking on the journey of manifesting the money that I paid this coach with good faith in and did not receive a return on investment or a refund. And it's a significant amount of money. And the reason why is because I paid that money because I was coming from such a insecure place, because it's basically this was a manifestation coach, but actually he used to parade as a tantric sex coach. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to go to a female sex therapist or somatic practitioner because I have a lot of fear of kind of men in that role. And so I'm going to confront that by going to a man who is involved in this. And I had watched him on Instagram for a few years. And then what really solidified it was I saw Sharon Stone and, following him and basically seeming to be a client. And I thought, wow, I mean, he seems legitimate. So the thing is when you have an insecurity about yourself, and for me, that insecurity is feeling like behind at sex and having kind of a neurotic performance anxiety buildup. And I have many videos talking about that the different shades and variations of that. And so in a way, like, part of the reason I prepaid was, yes, this abundance mindset manipulation, but it was also because I just had such it was such a person that I wanted to save me from my own, what I interpret as this wound and this problem and just a lot of the vulnerability. And so the exploitive nature of taking that money and not following through hit on another level, because I started to realize more and more that there's not anyone that's going to save you. It's not going to be somebody that reads your book and helps you, because my book is also about, it's neurotica. So I kind of had this idea that I would go to him about both my problem and have him read the book and get some clarity on almost a psychological hang up, because I believe that was hanging up the book. And so that's the thing, is when you are in that position and then you're exploited, you really learn that your wounds, you can be so controlled and manipulated by them and no one's going to save you. And you can, even if you tell people about how this coach scammed you, all they do is think you're stupid, and they just assume that you're a fool, you're easily manipulated. But it's like we all have something in us that like can be easily manipulated. Like that's why lonely people get manipulated by con artists, and we're all susceptible to it. And just like COVID showed us, everyone is susceptible to that fear and coercion combination. And so to pretend like you're above being manipulated you're actually more easily manipulated. There are so many sources of propaganda, manipulation, even just the rampant campaign of coffee and alcohol is really a way of keeping us in a disempowered state, because those are not those are poisons, those are substances that don't let us have our maximum brain capacity. And of course I'm in them pretty deep this summer, but I still know that they are both poison. Anyway, but the thing is how do you manifest money from a person who you have convinced yourself, kind of has a manipulative personality? The thing about it is you have to believe that they do feel guilt, and that they are evolving and growing as a person. Even though they may not have shown you that side, you need to have a belief that they have that side. And I noticed with him, because he wants to be a billionaire, millionaire, he believes that he has to circulate money and be generous with it in order to get it back. So I knew that if he had that belief, that would be part of how I manifested. So what I did was I would think to myself, or I would actually write down on colored pieces of paper over and over, it weighs heavily on him to pay me back the money he owes. And I also wrote that he believes he will not be a billionaire himself until he has paid back the people that he did not return on investment. It's very simple. Like most people just have a guilty conscience about having someone prepay an extensive amount of money and then not following through on the sessions. They would be up at night. I mean, I certainly wouldn't feel right about it. But you have to believe that there is an ounce of guilt, and you also have to believe that it may not be about you and caring about you, but it may be about their reputation and the fear of that, and the fear of God not making them a billionaire. You have to kind of play into other realms than the basic goodness of their heart or their compassion or their any empathy. And maybe it is more of a karmic fear. So you can turn it back in that way. And that is how I persisted in getting somebody to pay me back, and to pay me back in full. And it took quite a while, because I had to work on my own assumptions with him and what kind of character he had. And I had to work on it persisting. And I saw little inklings of it throughout the way. When I first started doing it, there are things that I said, I had exactly like I said, he will honor me financially. He did a random video live about honoring women financially, and it was being the authority on it, as though he did this all the time, which was fascinating. But see, I knew that my consistent affirming, like it weighs heavily on him, and all of this was getting to him. And then that was when he changed his profile from being tantric sex coach, sacred. He called himself actually a sacred sexuality coach or therapist or something. But he changed that, and I noticed that he was operating in little payments, like, $88 for a tarot reading. So he downgraded from what he was doing, which was, thousands of dollars prepaying for sessions. and he was operating in a different way. So I saw a change in him. I saw that he wasn't going to emphasize the sex. So there are things that were tinkling in, and it was very interesting. Like, he also made a video of you have to forgive someone in order to be paid back. Like, I knew that he was hearing and receiving the continual affirming of it weighing heavily on him. And and so know that when you repeat things in your subconscious mind, it's to overcome your own subconscious mind, but the energetics of you thinking about someone a certain way does get to them. So if you are thinking about somebody and obsessively, whether that's love or hate, they feel that, and that's why there's often a withdraw and a pursue cycle. And then there's a cycle of, if you are convinced that someone is going to pay you back and persist, they are feeling that every time you do that. And there's little like gradual baby step inklings of them going more and more toward paying you back. And so this is a success story about people paying you back, and money, and manifesting money, but particularly manifesting money that's why I love the humor of manifesting money from a manifestation coach who used the abundance mindset in order to get you to prepay, because you can't make this stuff up. It's ripe for parody. So I hope this was helpful. It's wild. It's a wild world out there in manifestation.